Now, it's less than 1 month until the National Day of Reflection, launched by charity Marie Curie, to give people the chance to pause and remember loved ones who are no longer with us due to the pandemic.
It's obviously a day that's going to mean a lot to many of us, with a new survey finding that half the population have lost a close friend, a family member or an acquaintance during Covid, of course.
Yeah, and we're joined by actor Larry Lamb, whose brother passed away in 2019, as well as Claire Collins from the charity. We were talking, weren't we, around this time last year, about the Day of Reflection and the importance of it. And I remember, I mean, obviously I'm in a different place to talk about it now, and very aware of the sensations of grief, although also very aware that actually I'm only at the first stages, and there's so many different stages of it all. But particularly aware of how tough it was for those during Covid who hadn't got that, you know, wraparound around them and the chance to have a funeral where they could hug loved ones and all of those things, which I think, you know, Ben, we talked at the time, didn't we, about how hard that was, but I especially feel it now. It's so important, isn't it, that people have that chance and this moment.
Yeah, I mean, my brother Wes he would have been quite amused had he known. You know, he'd slipped away before it all kicked off, and he was very, very brave about it, and just made sure nobody was really feeling bad for him. He wanted you just to have a laugh and a joke with him as best he could, and it was extraordinary for me to be there with him, because we'd had a terrible time beforehand, the pair of us drifting apart. Yeah, but that got us back together. It was lovely. Which is
wonderful for both of you.
Yeah, but I was able to be there with him, sitting by his bed. They even rigged up a bed in the corner of the room for me at the Marie Curie hospice. So let me sleep in the room. We hadn't slept together in a room for, I don't know,
probably
60 years. Yeah,
and there was that lovely moment when he asked you to kiss him.
I know. He looked at me and he went, and I said, "What, you want me to give you a kiss?" And he said, like that, and we just became these two little monkeys that used to play together, and we had a kiss, and it was lovely.
Such
absolutely
a
lovely. But
thing.
to think of all those people that missed the possibility of a moment like that, which is just like one of the most important memories of my life.
Claire, that wall of remembrance that you can see down by the Thames, of all those hearts, of all those people that were lost, every time I walk past that, I stop and I think, and you see the scale of the loss that people have faced. And as Larry's saying, he was able to spend some time with his brother. As Kate knows, in the end, you were able to spend a lot of time with Derek.
Be there right through to the end.
A lot of those hearts were for people who were lost and they couldn't be together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's visceral, isn't it? When you talk about kissing Wesley, or when you talk about smelling, holding Derek's hand and smelling his skin. Yeah. That so many people didn't have that experience, and they are still suffering and not having funerals. It's so hard to process what we normally held during these times, and it's so hard to process. People are still processing, and that's why it's so important for us to come together to commemorate all the people that died and all the losses that people experienced during COVID. Yeah.
And also, I suppose, going wider, to just deal with loss. It's not something we're necessarily equipped for, are we? We're not equipped for it. No one is equipped for it. Nobody wants to be having to face it, but we are all going to come up against it at some point in life.
You've got to come up against it for yourself, and you've got to come up against it with your loved ones, you know?
For those you love. So as we sort of, how do we deal with it? Reflection is important.
Yes.
I'm also trying to sort of help. I mean, I don't begin to understand how to help myself, but I'm also trying to help my children. And one of the things they've said is that people don't know what to say to them. And they want to help their friends and other people feel comfortable to still have a relationship with them, to not ignore it, but to do it. What advice do you give to people who know others have lost? I mean, Ben is in that situation with me. You're brilliant at it. But Ben wants to know how to support me, you know.
I think talking is so important. And as you said yesterday, or earlier on in the week, there are times when you can't talk, but I
feel very numb.
You feel very numb. And just, you know, don't hug me, I can't do it. That is some of the time. But all the time, it's really hard when people don't know what to say and they're scared of saying the wrong thing. But the worst thing is to say nothing at all, which is, you know, why we like, as the leading end-of-life charity, Marie Curie, are determined to get the conversations happening.
Claire, your mic is just, your necklace, if you just put it the other side of your little daffodil,
there we go,
it's just catching your mic and resonating, and it's such an important thing.
Marie Curie charity and those who are in the hospice, you found was so wonderful to help you.
The whole thing, it just became part of the family there, because everybody's devoted to looking after everybody that's in there. So the minute a new face walks in, there's a connection straight away, and people talk and maybe just, you know, relate to each other instinctively because there is this focus. And I think that's it. The problem is that in this country, we tend to, I don't know, somehow that we just deny it's there. I remember going around a graveyard with an old lady, old friend in France. And I said, I thought she had a gravestone all set up with a date of birth and a line for when she was going to finish and a name above it. And I said, I thought your gravestone was here. And she said, no, I just thought I don't want to be buried next to him. He's my cousin. I never liked him, really. So I've had it moved over the other side of the graveyard. I don't mind that lot over there. It's a different attitude entirely. And every year they have the day where everybody goes to the graveyard and tends to the graveyard and tends to the stone and puts new flowers there and little plaques there.
It becomes something that you can focus on, I guess, connect on, and that's what your Day of Reflection is about, isn't it? Like giving people the chance to reflect and experience it, or just deal with it in their way, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have resources on the dayofreflection.org, petals that you can download. Just make connections in the community. We also have a wonderful team of volunteers to provide bereavement support for those who need it, because so many of the people that responded to the survey said they still need help to process their grief. So we have people there, and wonderful people like yourself talking. Gabby Roslin's doing a radio programme on Sound Not Silence for us after the minute silence. And we just hope that people will come together in the way that you speak about the Marie Curie family, the ITV family. I'm seeing a family this afternoon. The patient was with us for several months, and they're coming back to give a donation and just to meet with us again. It's so important to become part of the family, even in makeup. One of your people, we cared for her mother, and that connection was so strong. So we're just hoping to keep fostering those connections.
You looked after my great mate Cammie's mother-in-law, and that's why he's been such a massive supporter. And he talked so fondly about the difference that was able to make. I think one of the things that we always really enjoy about meeting the guys from Sands United when we do A Million Minutes is these men that are uniting the grief of a loss of a child, whether it's whatever age, and they've come together through a love of football. And it's the thing that you're talking about, Darcy and Billy struggling. They think people are struggling. You know, find that common language that isn't necessarily about the grief. It doesn't have to be about the loss.
It's almost a licence to laugh.
Yes.
I got a bit of flack on social media yesterday of laughing with you, as though that would imply I didn't care. But when you're laughing because you want the joy that person brought to continue for all around. And you know that people watching at home have got troubles in their life and you want to share that joy with them. So it's a licence to laugh and to cry and to be all of those things, isn't it?
Sharing good, sharing bad.
Sharing good, sharing bad.
It's a love story that you're sharing, isn't it? It's a love of a family and
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I think you always need to be encouraged to laugh when I make a joke as well, by the way.
I have to laugh.
There's not enough of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Larry, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for coming, and I love sharing that story about you and Wes. I think it's just glorious. It's really, really special.
Yeah.
And it's lovely that we can do it. And Claire, thank you for that. And what was the website again, if people are interested?
dayofreflection.org.uk.
Fantastic stuff.
Fantastic. And of course, if you have been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, we know so many have, then you can, as well as that, as your website, find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.